Hey everybody! Today we're talking about obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, which is a common thing that we see as therapists for people who are coming into therapy. If you want to know more about what exactly OCD is, check out some of our previous videos because Josh will explain it in further depth. But today I'm going to walk you through some interventions, some ideas about things that you can do if this is something that you struggle with. So just for a quick recap, OCD is something that presents as obsessive thoughts that are intrusive and that you feel like you can't manage. Like if you try to get those thoughts to go away, they just won't. And often we have some kind of compulsion in relation to those thoughts. So you might have a thought that you're not safe, and the compulsion that you have or the behavioral urge that you notice is that you need to go lock all of your doors to make sure that you're safe and that nobody can get in. And often this cycle just repeats over and over and over again. The thought of, I can't be safe, I need to make sure my doors are locked, and the anxiety starts to build up. And so you get up and you go check your locks over and over again to the extent that this starts to interfere with your daily life. If this or some kind of obsessive thought is something that you deal with, then this might be an intervention that could work for you. First, start by noticing whatever the obsessive thought is. I think it's best to get a piece of paper and start to write down the obsessive thought and anything else related to it. So, for example, if we're using the door locking idea, then you might notice the thought, I'm not safe, somebody is going to break into my house, and other associated thoughts might be, I have to lock the doors, I need to make sure that no one can get in. If the doors aren't locked, somebody is going to get in here and we're all going to die or we're all going to get hurt. Those are examples of obsessive thoughts. Then, after you have figured out what these obsessive thoughts are, ask yourself what you try to do to minimize the amount of anxiety that you feel around the thought. So maybe that is that you get up and you go check the door locks, window locks, make sure everything is locked up tight, and you notice that for a minute that anxiety is neutralized or it comes down to a more reasonable level until the cycle starts all over again. After you've figured out both things, what the obsessive thoughts are and what it is that you sometimes do to neutralize the anxiety or to get those thoughts to calm down for a minute, then you can start to do the next part of this. This looks like you spending a little bit of time recognizing the thoughts for just what they are, thoughts. This can be really hard because sometimes intrusive and obsessive thoughts feel so real. And it's not that they're entirely untrue. I mean, the thought that somebody could break in your house is a reality. That really could happen. The problem is the amount of time and energy we spend on that thought becomes more problematic than the likelihood of the actual thing happening. So you start to notice, here's the thought, and you say to yourself, this thought is actually causing me more trouble than it is actually helping. And at this point, you recognize the thought and you find a way to sit with it and maybe even make it more true and useful. So, for example, maybe you look at the thought and you remind yourself that there have been multiple times that you haven't locked your doors and that nothing has happened. Or that even on the days you have locked your doors, nobody has tried to break in. Challenging your thoughts in this way can be useful, but it's not actually going to bring down the anxiety much. Most people will notice that that actually can become a bit of an obsession in itself. So instead, just recognize that the thought that you're having, the obsessive thought, is not exactly logical and is not exactly helping you, and that there are other logical explanations that probably fit the situation better. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to practice reminding yourself thoughts are not facts and that you can sit with the anxiety. The anxiety will continue to come up as you notice those obsessive thoughts rise, but as you sit with it and continually not act on the urge to follow through with the compulsion, your body will learn to calm itself back down. You'll be able to say to yourself, look, I sat with that urge, I sat with that thought and that compulsion, and nothing bad happened, even though I didn't do the compulsive behavior. I sat, I tolerated it, and I reminded myself that thoughts are not necessarily facts, and that I can sit with an urge, and that actually can cause me to feel better over the long run than doing the behavior in the short term that's going to initially take away the anxiety, but then make it worse overall. Be patient with yourself as you try some of these things, because this is quite the process. I often tell people that if you're trying to fight OCD on your own, it's a really, really tough battle. This is one of those things that would be most helpful to get into both your medication prescriber and a therapist, so that you can learn different interventions and practice them in a way that will really support you in the future. The things that you feel like doing in the short term will most often make OCD worse, and the things that you need to do are things like sitting with the discomfort and waiting, so that over long term this will start to become better. So reach out to a therapist, set up an appointment with your doctor. There is help and hope out there for you if this is something that can be treated. Check out our other videos for more information like this and other ideas about how to intervene when you're struggling with different mental health issues.